Hey guys, and as you probably know, next week is the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. In my opinion, one of, if not the greatest racetracks in the world. But the spa-francorchamps circuit we know and love today hasn't always been this way. Before the modern GP circuit was built, it was almost completely different. So here we are in Project Cars 2. I'm going to be racing around Classic Spa in this Formula 1 Lotus 49B, a car that raced around the original layout of Spa in real life, and see how I do against the AI in a 4-lap race back when Spa wasn't the grand circuit we know now, but instead a street circuit through the Belgian countryside. So without further ado, let's begin. So here we are on the starting grid as the lights go out for this 4-lap race at Classic Spa. Struggling with oversteer there, not a great start for us as we fly down the hill towards the infamous Eau Rouge. Keeping it nice and tidy so far, don't want to make any costly mistakes on the first lap as I look to the inside coming into Eau Rouge, but the car in front quickly cuts me off as we twitch our way up the hill, squeezing past the car to the left as we make our way up the crest of Radion and onto the Kemmel Straight. Well, however, the Kemmel Straight in Classic Spa isn't exactly straight as we make our way past the car to the right, coming into this subtle right-hander as we brake into the Kemmel corner. Already you can see just how different modern Spa is to its older counterpart. Pretty much flat out through these couple of corners here as I wrestle with the steering wheel as we approach Le Combe, which instead of sending us right like on the modern layout, sends us to the left. As I try and look to the inside of the car in front, then come back at them, getting a much better exit on the corner, as we now go to a completely different area of Spa, with nothing but trees and fields lining the circuit, now coming into the flat out left-right of Route de la Côte, dipping a wheel onto the grass on entry there, as the cars in front incredibly slow on the exit of the corner, moving to the right side of the road to make up 2 more positions, before coming back onto the racing line. Now charging onto the long banked right-hander of Burnhamville. Incredibly easy to make a mistake on this corner, so it's always good to play it at least somewhat cautiously as the road begins to tighten up, coming onto the brakes and changing down a gear as the cars in front start to slowly get away from me as we descend down the hill towards the swooping right-hander of Malmedy, coming in at full speed, almost touching a wheel on the grass on the left there, still completely flat out through this very quick section as we now make our way onto the fearsome Master Straight. This is the main straight here at Historic Spa, very similar in appearance to the Mulsanne straight at Vintage Le Mans, as we pass one car to the left and while we're at it we pass another as we fly down the Master Straight in hot pursuit of the cars in front. This track is obviously an incredibly high speed circuit, being on full throttle for almost the entire lap, as we now make our way through the quick Master Chicane, taking it very cautiously because I know just how much the AI love to crash here, as we now fly past the slow cars to the left onto the shorter Hollowell Straight. Now chasing the car in front as we try to get a slipstream off their back bumper as we begin to slowly but surely edge towards them as we come onto Stavelot, my favourite corner on the circuit. Early on the brakes, trying to be nice and cautious, unlike the car behind soaring past on the outside of Stavelot as we make our way to the top of the hill, coming onto the brakes as we come towards the crest. Now darting to the inside line as the gap suddenly opens and we storm past the car to the left to retake the position as we now come into the final sector of this ridiculously long 14km circuit. Going much quicker than the car in front as I come to the inside to try and make a move, and contact as I try and barge past the car in front, but unsuccessfully on this particular occasion. The fight is not lost yet, however, we're still right on the tail of the car in front, as we now come into the almost flat out right-hander of Le Carrière. Very twitchy coming through there, but we still get a better run on the other car, going to the inside and soaring past the car to the left to take the position as we now approach the final couple of corners here at the classic layout of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Incredibly different to the Spa we know and love today, and unsurprisingly also much more deadly. Another ridiculously long straight here at Spa as we now come towards one of the few familiar corners that still exist in the modern layout today, Blanchimont, but we still need to get there first as we continue down this never-ending straight, chasing the cars in front. Breaking into the long fast left-hander of Blanchimont, pushing the car as hard as possible as we come into another fast left-hander, and my character one-handed through there. You wouldn't see that in real life, but luckily this isn't real life, this is sim racing. Now coming onto the penultimate corner of this incredibly long lap here at Classic Spa, coming onto the brakes maybe a bit too cautiously through there as there's contact in front, with a puff of smoke coming out the back of the car in front, allowing me to take advantage and fly past to take 2 more positions. Sending it down the inside into La Source, another familiar corner at this old layout of Spa, as we make our way onto the pit straight once again, and onto the second lap of this 4-lap race. Now skipping ahead slightly as we exit Route de la Côte on the second lap, the car to the right sending it up the inside coming towards Burnhamville, and throughout the rest of this video you will see cuts like that since this race ended up being almost 20 minutes long. Anyway, once again coming through the long banked right hander as we chase the car in front through this incredibly tricky and fast section of asphalt, where we begin to close the gap massively to the car in front, right on the back wing of the other car, coming into Melmedy corner flat out as per usual as we go full speed through these long fast couple of corners before the master straight, slowly edging closer to the car in front as we begin to close the gap between each other, getting into the slipstream of the car in front, slowly but surely edging our way to take the position as we rapidly close the gap even more, right behind the car in front now as we move to the right hand side of the road, almost onto the grass as we saw past the car to the left, and now the overspeed allows me to carve my way past the next car in front as well, as we now make our way through the quick master chicane once again, hugging up to the apex there, trying to make full use of the track to go as fast as possible, as we now skip ahead once again to the long bank to right hand of Stavilo, the car behind taking the inside line and flying past up the hill. Nothing I could do about that, but we can still come back at them. Much better exit onto Stavilo as we chase the car in front to retake the position, right on the back wing of the car in front now as I go to the right, then go to the left and try and make a move on the straight, side by side with the car to the right now as we come towards the Carrier, and it looks like we've secured that position. Or have we? They're still right behind us as we come towards the quick left-hander, as we go to the inside line to try and make a move and barge past up the inside to retake their position, coming onto the quick right-hand kink of Le Carrier, almost flat out through there as we proceed to chase the cars in front and make up some more positions, as the car in front tries making a move on the other car, going to the inside line and holding me up massively hard on the brakes, as we try and take advantage and pass the car on the left as well, but I don't think that's possible on this occasion, as they start to power away from me as we approach the end of the second lap here at the classic layout of Spa, as we now come onto the third lap of this race. Now onto the third lap, just after coming out of Le Com, as we try to close the gap to the cars in front, turning into Hors de la Côte, dipping a wheel onto the grass on entry there as we try and make full use of the track. Still quite a large gap between us and the cars in front, however, as we approach the tricky Burnhamville corner, almost full speed on entry as it is one of the fastest corners on this entire circuit. Coming off the action for a second, and I want to talk about just how crazy this circuit is. Of all the insane street circuits from the 50s and 60s, like Harms and Le Mans, Classic Spa is by far the most ridiculous. Anyway, coming through Malmedy once again, as we quickly gain on the cars in front as we come back onto the master straight. A sea of smoke in front of us envelops the track as the AI have a massive crash, as cars go spinning out the race, passing a crash car on the left there, as we take full advantage, missing out on all the carnage, and thundering away from the crash behind. A crash like that was bound to happen eventually in this race, so it's a good job we were able to stay clear and out of trouble amidst all the chaos. Anyway, coming back on board as we go through the master chicane and onto the Hollowell straight, as we see on the right there yet another massive crash with two cars on top of each other on the side of the road, as we now saw past the slow car in front. Now flying down the hill coming into Stavilo, massive gap to the car in front, so we're in a bit of a no man's land now, as we avoid all the chaos so far ensuing on this third lap of the race. Now coming onto the final corner and also the sharpest corner on the circuit, La Source, as we now make our way onto the start-finish straight once again to begin the fourth and final lap of this race. Coming down the hill now towards Eau Rouge as we pass the pits on the right and the main grandstands on the left, still quite a long way back from the cars in front, but anything can still happen on the final lap of this race. Coming through Eau Rouge and up into Radion now, much tighter and slower than in the modern layout of Spa, as we come onto where the Camel Straight lies now, as it's not much of a straight here in its classic counterpart. Now back flying down the master straight one final time, the cars in front still ahead by quite some margin as we soar towards the almost flat out master chicane, turning in nice and easy, not taking any risks at the moment. Chasing the cars in front now down the Hollowell straight as there's a crash in front, moving to the inside to try and avoid a collision and sent spinning into the grass. The car to the left much more lucky than I am, spinning the wheel round and finding first gear. Perfect recovery there from me as we try to put that crash behind us and push forward for another position on this final half a lap. Now approaching the end of the final lap, right on the tail of the car in front, closing the gap between us as I come to the inside line and go side by side with the sky blue car to the right, still side by side, can't move over yet. The car on the right does not want to give up the position that easily, still side by side as we come into Blanchimont, but the other car manages to hang round the outside as I try and take the inside and have a go at them into the next corner, hard on the brakes but not quite hard enough as the other car holds on to their position. Bumper to bumper with the car in front, only a few corners left to go before the end of the race, as we now come into this uphill left-hander as the penultimate corner at Classic Spa. Bit too slow there, costing me valuable time as we head towards the final corner of La Source. This is my last chance, it's now or never, hard on the brakes coming down the inside, a dive bomb out of nowhere into La Source as we take the position. And there you go, that was a 4-lap race at Classic Spa in Classic F1 Cars in Project Cars 2. In all honesty, this is probably the most fun video I've ever made. Both doing the gameplay for the race and the voiceover commentary, it was a ton of fun. If you have a racing wheel, I would definitely recommend you give this a shot yourself, because although Project Cars 2 has a lot of problems, replicating historic racing is definitely one of its specialities. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe, comment, share, and I'll be back in the next video. See ya!